Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with Kansas City jazz group Victor and Penny. Known as band leaders Jeff and Erin, joined by the Loose Change Orchestra. They were on their way to Oklahoma to promote their new 2016 album called Electricity. And this latest release from the Kansas City Prohibition jazz outfit is the culmination of 160,000 miles, 5 years, and nearly 1,000 performances. They have been together since 2010, and they love bringing the music to the fans in both Kansas City and around the country. They spoke about a wide array of things during our discussion. So get to know the band and dig this interview, my friends.
First of all, thank you for taking a little time to talk with me today. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for calling.
Right on. And what I want to ask is this. Obviously, you're on the road, and this is going to weave a good backdrop to my very first question here. Electricity, the new album, is the culmination of 160,000 miles, 5 years, and 1,000 performances. So I want you all to talk to me about this album, how you feel about it in the afterglow, and what you're doing to promote it.
I feel great about the album. This is Erin talking. You know, a whole year in the planning and the making of it, and we had some really specific goals for this album, and so far I think it's really met those for us. So that feels very satisfying, very rewarding. We wanted to make an album of original music, and we wrote tunes for the project and also went back through our list of songs and picked a few favorites as well. So that all was great. Working with a producer for the first time was a terrific experience, and I feel like we made, at least for me, the best work that we could do right now. So that feels totally satisfying. And as far as promoting it, we're right in the middle of all that right now. So we're promoting it to folk radio, and then also we have a jazz promotion that's starting this month as well. So we're hoping just to get our name and our music out to a whole lot of people in the jazz world and in the folk world that don't know us yet. So we're excited about meeting all those people and just getting a little bit more well-known.
And also we're just, the other way we're promoting it is just doing as many shows and in as many places as we can. I mean, we're trying to just kind of expand out. The last couple of years we've really been around our region here, but I think this summer and this fall we're going to get out to the East Coast and hopefully out to the West Coast as well, and just kind of really stack up the live appearances.
That was Jeff talking. We're taking the guys with us as much as we possibly can this year because the music that we wrote for the album, the guys are on it, and they're just such an integral part of the sound that, we do the songs without them when we have to, but if we can have them with us, we'd much rather do that. And they're great. I'm talking about them like they're not sitting right here in the car, but they're fantastic, awesome players, and, the band is just better with them with us.
So let me ask you this. Let me piggyback off of what you said about the album. You had a Grammy Award-winning producer-engineer, Mitch Dane, down at Sputnik Sound in Nashville do this. How big of a production was this, and how did it feel like to be in that kind of environment with that kind of cloud?
Well, it was
Jeff talking.
It was a different thing for us because, it was the first time we had worked with a producer. It felt more important from the beginning because we knew, especially because we wanted to make this something different, and we were writing our own material, and just quite honestly, we're spending a lot more money than we ever had. But when we met Mitch, when we first met him and walked into his studio, we knew right away that this was our spot. We knew that this was going to be the right place for us to do this record, and it just felt like a kind of totally immersive location for us to just sort of go down to Nashville for 3 weeks and just think about nothing but making this record. So in that way, I guess it made it feel more important to us, like there was more at stake.
Well, let me ask you this, and it's hard for me to be a passive observer because of what I do, because I'm more of an active observer, especially in the realm of jazz and music locally in Kansas City. But my passive side of me has to believe that you all are really garnering a good name and getting embraced well by the Kansas City area and even beyond. How do you feel about that?
Well, thanks for saying that, and we definitely feel like that, too. We travel all over the country, and we tell people all the time one of the best things about being from Kansas City is that we feel so much support for what we're doing. And in the artistic community, there's a lot of collaboration as opposed to competition. That's not true everywhere, but it is true in Kansas City. So we feel really supported and embraced was the word that you used. that I think is true both by the music fans and the music industry people in Kansas City, the press people and the DJs, but also by the other artists. It's necessary. This is really hard to do, to self-produce and promote your own music and try to get onto a national and international level. It's very expensive and it's very stressful. It just takes all the time there is. And if we didn't feel like there were people that truly cared about it, it'd be much, much harder to do that. So I feel very grateful, actually, to be from Kansas City and to be in such an encouraging environment.
You know, I hear nothing but that same sentiment all the time when I talk to musicians. So this is my question. What do you think it is about Kansas City that does that? The Midwest charm? What do you think it is about the crop of musicians that exist within the nuclei of this environment that has fostered such a feeling? Because that has to be, you know, coming from bigger cities, I hear there's always competition. Everybody's trying to kind of cut in and get to each other's gigs, but never in Kansas City. What do you think it is about what we have going on here that does that?
We might all have different opinions about that, but I definitely have an opinion, and I think a lot of it comes because what we have in Kansas City, it's not the mountain, it's not the ocean, we don't have a space needle, we don't have anything like that. What we have in Kansas City is people. So, like I like to say, it's a great place to make art. Like, that's what we got going on. So I think if you're in Kansas City, you're not there because, you know, you like to ski on the weekends. You're there because you're there for the people, probably. That's probably why you're there. And I think that just fosters the right environment. And then also, I'm from a small farm town in northwest Iowa, and it's really hard to get up on your high horse in a small town. And in Kansas City, it's pretty hard to put on airs. You know, we're all from the same place, you know. So
I think also, you know, part of it is that Kansas City is a big enough town that there's a really sort of thriving and diverse music and art scene, but it's not so big that you lose that sense of community. And it's not so big that everyone is just fighting for, you know, every moment, every gig, every inch. Like places I used to live in Chicago, but places like Chicago, New York, I mean, it's just such a struggle just to get by every day. Like everything you do is just made more difficult by the amount of people. I think that's one of the gifts of Kansas City is it's an easy town to live in. So it gives us all more kind of headspace and art space to like share our art with each other.
This might be a great question for the guys to answer because both of our guys that are with us today, we have James Isaac and Kyle Dahlquist, our horn and reed section. They both play with a ton of other people on a regular basis. Do you guys have an opinion about this?
Oh, I would say that my thought is that there are enough individual visions in Kansas City that it's not like everybody's trying to take up the same space. I think that does allow for more support between different people in the community because we are trying to do lots of different things, not just everybody trying, like Jeff was saying, trying to get the same gig or trying to play the exact same music.
Yeah, and I would also kind of add that I think the sense of community is an integral part of that because you meet somebody and really dig what you're doing. I'd love to play with you sometime. And like 2 weeks later, there you are. You're playing with them.
Yeah, that can happen here.
Yeah.
And we can work cross-discipline in Kansas City. That's one of my favorite things about being here, is that if you want to do, you know, dance, painting, fusion, you probably can do that here if you want to. And I don't think that's really true in larger markets. I worked in Chicago for a long time as an actor, and you were either an actor or you were a musician. Very few were able to work in both markets and be taken seriously in whatever was not your primary market. And that's not true in Kansas City either. There's lots of people that play different instruments and play in different groups and play in different, actually, disciplines. And that's awesome.
That's wonderful. I love those answers. Let me ask you this. How did all of the pieces come together in 2010 to make Victor and Penny?
Interestingly, it kind of started with, you know, the gift of the ukulele that Erin's dad sent to her, 1951 Hawker ukulele, and it really kind of got us on the path. It was such an unusual and wonderful instrument that, you know, we were inspired to learn more of these tunes from that era, from the prohibition era, and we learned 11 songs in one night, and then what we thought, you know, Erin had seen her dad quite some time. We thought, well, let's go. He lives out near L.A. We thought, let's go out there and pay him a visit. Kind of show him what we're up to. And we thought, well, this is a good opportunity to pick up some shows. And we didn't have an album. We didn't have any promo material. We were just freshly calling ourselves Victor and Penny.
I don't think we had a website.
Yeah, I don't think we had a website, but we had some videos that we had made in our car. And that basically served as our EPK for the time being. And we booked a ton of shows on the strength of those car videos, and we were really as surprised as anyone else that it worked. So it really started as a trip out to L.A. to see Erin's dad, and ended up as a 3-week tour of the West Coast. And a lot of those contacts we still have to this day, and it sort of just built from there. We got back from that initial trip and thought, man, this actually could be something. People really like this.
And how we came to the Prohibition era jazz songbook was that Jeff and I had decided we were going to try to do a musical project together. He was still living in Chicago. I was living in Kansas City, but working in Chicago, so there was a lot of back and forth. And we just thought we'd try to do some music together for fun. We tried a few things. I don't know, it just wasn't happening. And then got that ukulele, and we started talking about songs that we both knew, and he'd been listening to a lot of the early guitarists like Django Reinhardt, Charlie Christian, and I'd been listening to a lot of the vocal music like Boswell Sisters, Mills Brothers, and we found we had all these songs in common that we both loved, like Limehouse Blues or Some of These Days. So we kind of started down that early jazz path, and it, I don't know, that was the right choice. It just happened really quickly after that.
That era, Prohibition era jazz, I think one of the beauties of it is that nostalgia will never, ever cease being an amazing thing for the human mind to wrap itself around. So my question is this. It's obviously kind of coming back. It's always resurging. Why is the Prohibition era jazz style never going to go out of style?
Well, I think a big part of it is the melodic content is so good. For instance, like the opening pass on Up a Lazy River, the Hoagie Carmichael tune, is just terrific. It's just a terrific melody. I don't know who's writing melodies like that today. I never get tired of hearing that. It's both difficult and beautiful all at the same time. And I think that so many of those songs are just so beautifully written. People say things like, oh, it sounds so fresh. And even though the song is old, but I think it's because so much of the music that's on the radio today, on commercial radio, is rhythmic-based. And this music is all melodic-based. So I think it just will never get old because it's interesting to hear.
Let me ask you this. In the annals and the history of Kansas City jazz, which obviously Pendergast and that whole era kind of infused this town with swing and everything that we became popular for. But collectively as a band, what intrigues you the most about the history of Kansas City jazz?
I think kind of the maverick spirit of it, and I think it was cool hearing about like the old Coon Sanders band and how they were one of the groups that did one of the very first live recordings, and I think it was in the Beelbach Hotel in the 20s, and it seems like they were kind of outliers, coming up with their own thing, and they call it this riff-driven style of Kansas City jazz. We connect with that in a lot of ways, so we feel like we're borrowing from that and sort of carrying that forward, and also add a bit of ourselves to it.
I like that. Like Chuck Haddock talks a lot about this, and we had a great conversation with him recently about this. Like it was really rhythmic. The Kansas City style back then was really rhythmically driven, but then you had all these great improvisational soloists, and that's exactly what we're doing at the most essential when it's just Jeff and myself playing. I'm the rhythm and he's the soloist, so at its very core nugget, that's exactly what we're doing. And so, we both come from a rock background, and of course Jeff studied jazz at Berkeley, but we're still kind of rockers in there somewhere. So that rhythm, that driving rhythm, is irresistible to us.
The one thing I did want to ask about the history of the band is, obviously, since you were a kid, you didn't think I'm going to grow up and be in a big jazz collective. But how did these dreams that you all have had collectively kind of intersect and merge? Was everybody always wanting to get to the arts one way or another, or did you all have some kind of feeling that you would find your niche in the art world and kind of ride off into the sunset?
from high school on, I was definitely enmeshed in jazz and playing saxophone, and that's continued when I went to the conservatory at KC. And so really, yes, from that point on, from high school on, that was pretty much my path. I got to college and discovered that I could just take a bunch of music classes. That was my life for 4 years. That was amazing. I just kept on going, and yeah, it's been my path.
Yeah, this is Kyle, and I had kind of a similar thing in that, yeah, I started as a little kid playing piano, and then started playing trombone in elementary. Just really enjoyed that, but then when I got to high school and played in the high school jazz band, and that kind of really opened my ears and opened my head up, and then luckily then playing in a band with Jeff. 20 years ago.
So Kyle and Jeff were in a couple of bands, from just right out of high school, right?
Yeah, I was still in high school.
When you joined that first band?
Yeah. And, my musical path has taken twists and turns and then detours, but it's always been a part of me, and it always will.
How about you, Jeff?
Well, I knew, from the second that I heard Jimmy Page's guitar solo on Whole Lot of Love that I wanted to be a guitar player.
Nice.
And found out soon after that what I really wanted to do was be in a touring rock and roll band. And we're not exactly a rock and roll band, but we are touring, and I think we inject our own kind of style of rock and roll into it. So I feel like got myself on the right path. But I've always had this feeling about young that I wanted to make my living making music in one form or another.
I think for me it wasn't specifically a musical vision, but it definitely was a performance vision. I was that kid that was, doing interpretive dance in the living room all by myself to my parents' records, and I took piano lessons as a kid and then played in concert bands, played all the way through college. I was in a rock band, but played flute in a rock band, and then picked up guitar and learned that, and then finally picked up ukulele. So, and my degree is in theater performance. So I think I always had envisioned myself as a performing artist, but probably in multiple disciplines. But as the years have gone by and as I've gotten older, the lure of music, which was always second to theater, is absolutely turned over. Music has proved to be a more satisfying path. I can't see myself leaving it really ever again. It was the difference between performing for an audience where there's definitely a fourth wall. Like in theater, they talk about there being a fourth wall where you're not supposed to look at the audience or connect to the audience unless it's written in the play. The audience is supposed to be a voyeur to a scene that's happening on stage. And with music, it's exactly the opposite. There should be no fourth wall. You should be connecting directly to the audience. And the first time that I stood on a stage and sang a song with lyrics that I wrote in a band with people that I'd helped create music with and felt that direct and immediate connection to the audience, I'm absolutely hooked. That's just something more satisfying about that. It feels like that's what I'm supposed to be doing.
So let me ask you this. You've released Antique Pop, Live at the Living Room. Now you got Electricity. You're in a van heading to Oklahoma. Everything's moving forward. What are your plans? What do you want to see? Let's say we talk in 10 years. What are you all hoping transpires? How do you want to see your band move forward?
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
We want to find a way to feel like we're not just scratching and clawing every day. We obviously, I think like every band, we want to play bigger and better shows. We want to get a lot more. Build the audience. We want to sell lots of records, although we know records don't sell these days. So I think the answer is just play more shows. But we want there to be. I think we're looking for more quality than quantity. 10 years from now, I think we would not want to be, just busting ourselves in half so hard to make all of this happen. I mean, the thing about running your own business is, people say to us, man, I wish I could do music all the time. And we say, yeah, so do we, because, really we're office managers. We would like to have a team to help us do all this so we can concentrate on the art, so we can look forward, I think just find a way to make it more sustainable into the future, because we really enjoy doing this and we want to do it for a while.
I would agree. Sustainability is my goal right now. Also building our community around us, our team of people around us that are excited about doing this with us and creating stuff together. Also, my long-term goal, I would hope in 10 years that we would have, I'd like to own a building in Kansas City that was some sort of center that would have some performance and rehearsal and creative space in it, both for us and for our folks around us. I hope that we never have to stop doing this. I think it'd be great to just do this until I just simply can't anymore. And so I think as we go forward, we want that to be, as Jeff said, more qualitative and less quantitative. Right now it feels like it needs to be quantitative to get to the quality. We see that happening. That's definitely the trend we're on. And we're grateful to the guys because we think they're going to help us do it. And more of the same but better.
So let me ask you this. You know, everyone has their version or take on who you are as a band. So you get that person that picks up your latest album, Electricity, and they're thinking about it. They're thinking about who you are and what this album is. Tell me who you are. Who are you as a band? And what's this product that you want people to listen to?
Well, I think that's a hard question to answer, but I think what we would say is that what we're not is a cute novelty act, which is, I think, the first thing that a lot of people think about us, that we're this cute little novelty act that does old-timey music. And what we really think we are is a more sophisticated, classy, and really skilled band of musicians and entertainers that are not really doing a specific style of music. I mean, it certainly has its roots in that prohibition era jazz, but we're really infusing it with something new. So I think we'd like for people to think that this is something exciting and new.
I would say that we're definitely as we continue to write our own material, the sound is going to probably shift a little farther away from Cole Porter, for example, like on our live album. But we'll see. People, the responses that we're getting, people are surprised that some of the themes are a little bit more thoughtful or introspective lyrically than they might have anticipated. Also, the arranging is more sophisticated. We have more instruments in. So the sound is changing. We feel like it's growing and moving forward. Definitely kind of still in that, jazz folk vein, somewhere in there, somewhere in that Dan Hicks. What did someone else say the other day? Kind of Van Morrison, maybe pop jazz. I don't know. I think our sound is evolving, so we'll see where it goes. But I would agree with Jeff that the novelty that we began with maybe 5 or 6 years ago, that's not really what we're doing right now.
So let me ask you this. Do you like traveling and going to other states and areas to perform?
Oh, we'd love it, yeah. Yeah, we'd love it. I mean, it takes a lot of resources, and so this is part of our sort of short and long-term goal is to make this more sustainable and to be able to do it more often because we love it. I mean, we love going to other places, not only because, we love meeting new people and making new fans, but it also feels fresh for us, It's like sometimes kids do, like, oh, they got to be sick of us by now,
Yeah.
So it's great to play to new crowds, yeah.
Yeah, I love the traveling. I'm not tired of it yet at all. How about you?
Good.
You want to travel?
Oh, work better. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
From all the live crowds you played in front of, what's a compliment you got that you really remember that kind of blew you away?
Well, a couple things. It's always interesting when people say they think the stuff sounds really fresh. They say, man, it sounds so fresh to me, and we're playing, pretty old music. Although I guess our new stuff be that way. But I always enjoy it when people, it's pretty rare, but I love it when people come up and compliment the arrangements because we do actually put a lot of thought into that. It's nice to hear that.
Yeah, for me, it's two things. Like, I love it when an audience member comes up afterwards and says, oh, I was really tired or I wasn't going to come or, for whatever reason, I was just not going to get here, but did anyway. And then they'll come up and say, I'm so glad I came because I feel so much better and this music just made me feel good. And, that, I think, what more can we do than make people feel better? Like, I think that's a huge compliment. But for me personally, as a musician, I play rhythm on. That's what I do. I'm the rhythm train, and sometimes people kind of overlook what I'm doing. I joke about this bass player friend of mine said, I'm going to get you a T-shirt that has little tiny print on it that says, "You've noticed if I stopped playing." So I love it. Once in a while, I'll have a bass player or a drummer come up to me after a show from another band or something and say, "Man, you're like a clock. Your time is so dead on. And I was totally digging your rhythm. And you're just really driving it." I love that. That to me, that'll keep me going for a month. One of those comments. How about you guys?
For me, this is James. I think when I get the occasional compliment of someone saying that they haven't heard clarinet playing like that, just like Benny Goodman or something like that, that's really nice to hear. I mean, it's not an educated ear, and I'm not as Benny Goodman, but
better.
but knowing that I gave someone that kind of experience of that, enjoying the clarinet being played in a way that made it feel like it must have felt to hear Benny Goodman play, is definitely a great compliment. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, and for me, I think it's a compliment to any time that you have somebody that's in an audience that stays with you from the beginning to the end and is connecting with what you are doing the whole time through. I think, as busy and as breakneck pace as the world is these days, to have somebody kind of go through that journey with you for that whole time is a compliment in and of itself.
We just did our CD release concert Tuesday night, and it ended up being 2 hours if we didn't take a break. And the audience was with us the whole time. Hey, that's what you're talking about, right? And still had this tons of energy for us at the end of the night, leapt to their feet, gave us a standing ovation. And, I think that means we're doing our job if we can hold them like that. So that's just a huge compliment.
Right on. I think that's the perfect way to kind of end everything right there on a high note with, that good feeling from the fans and the CD release. And thank you all for taking a little time to talk with me about this. I'm looking forward to spinning it on my show.
Great. Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to yet another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players in New York, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. And a big thanks to the entire Victor and Penny outfit for their story, their wisdom, and making Kansas City cooler. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino on the iTunes Store, or visit theneonjazz.blogspot.com for all things Neon Jazz. Until next time, enjoy the music, my friends.
It's a rickshaw chase!
Neon Jazz.